it's clear that this is just something Rishi Sunak thinks is a good idea and hasn't given much consideration to the electoral benefits of it. I think maybe potentially if you look at the way the journalists from GB News and The Sun asked questions, they framed this news in quite a positive light. So I think if you are thinking about the electorate in the same way that GB News and The Sun do, which I think is quite an uncharitable view of the electorate, I think you're stereotyping the British public as being anti-green, when actually green policies are incredibly popular amongst people of all political stripes. So you're
particularly conservatives.
Yeah,
net zero really popular among them.
Yeah, and it's I think it's something that you can, in good faith, take back to your constituency, and most people don't have any bones about it. Mm-hmm. Be like, you want your children to live? Yep, cool. So do I. That's like quite an easy conversation to have on the doorstep. Whereas now, these people are having to go back to their constituencies and engage with their electorate. And these are people who we've now seen, I think this is the second or third summer where people in Britain have actually really felt the effects of climate change firsthand. We had the dreadful heat last year, and we had people experiencing the wildfires in Greece. And then we've also seen like the horrible climate catastrophes that have happened all over the world. And these are becoming more and more frequent. I think people are becoming more and more aware of climate change and the radical action that we need to take. So Rishi Sunak, instead of catering to that electorate who understand the real need for drastic action and support these things that Boris Johnson introduced, like a rabid right-wing prime minister introduced these measures. So you're catering not to the electorate, you're catering to the front page of the Daily Mail.
But I think there's two prongs to that. So I think two layers to it. What you're talking about with the climate change commitments and wildfires and care for the environment, I think that's more important on the world stage. So you look at Al Gore today coming out and condemning Rishi Sunak for potentially rowing back. That's where those policies are important, climate policies, because it's like, no, we're all doing this together and you look quite crap if you're rowing back on them. What I think matters to the electorate is the cash in the back pocket. So his argument today was, look, I'm going to make more cash available to you. I'm going to give you one of the largest subsidies available in Europe to get a new boiler. I'm increasing it from £5,000 to a £7,500 allowance, right? Cool, cash in your pocket. However, that ignores that if you live in a home that is not well insulated, or you live in a home that it has, it's just generally quite crap at conserving energy, it's not necessarily the climate impact that voters think about, but it's the money in their back pocket. So if I am a renter and I'm having to spend fourfold on energy costs because my landlord now doesn't have to insulate my home, that's going to really piss me off. I think that's the kind of, it would be, if he came out with a good insulation policy, that would be interesting for MPs to take back to their constituents. Like, oh, you're cold this winter, energy expensive, we're going to solve that for you.
Yeah. There was brief chat. You were quite enamoured with this idea about a potential snap election.
Well, I think that he did. I just think this is where my thoughts changed from this morning, because I did think
you were a whole different person this morning.
I'm many different people all the time. I actually am every woman. I thought that the policy was so ridiculous and not announced in the House of Commons in a way that I thought could only be read as electoral strategy. I thought it's just so, it doesn't make any sense to wait until policy can't be scrutinised and just make a quite ambiguous policy announcement unless it's connected to an election. I would say even during his speech, there was some fighting talk. He was talking at one point that politics needs to be more transparent. The green agenda needs better thinking, bigger thinking, more inventive thinking. That's election speak. That is. That's not just I'm your prime minister and I'm here for a little press conference.
I don't know. I think it seems like you guys are wrong about the climate. I'm right, and I'm going to do that because I'm prime minister. I know it's unpopular. So that's why I've done it out with the realms of normal parliamentary procedure. So it can't be scrutinised. I don't know. But I also think announcing an incredibly unpopular policy as laying the ground for an election is be an unusual strategy.
I don't think that he thinks it would be unpopular.
But he must be able to see the polling.
But I think that they've gone back to to Downing Street tonight, and they've probably said to each other, like, that's great. You've told voters you're going to put an extra £7,500 in their back pockets. They're going to love that.
But also, I don't know if voters believe that.
No. Okay, do you know my other point on the snap? The reason I thought this could be leading up to an election is because the policy being so rushed out that the kinks weren't worked out when he was giving that speech. You know, he was asked a question, how much is this going to save the average household? And he couldn't give an answer. He said, it could be 5, could be 10, 15 or £20,000. It's like, Rishi, big difference. I know for you, that's like, you know,
That's pocket change.
dinner at Nico's.
So it could be
on
like
Saturday
1 month's
night.
salary. Like,
Yeah.
maybe 2 months' salary.
You might have to miss a meeting. Like, yeah. One after dinner speech.
Your skiing trip might be a day shorter.
Skiing trip. No, you wouldn't get his level of standard of skiing trip for £5,000, would you?
I don't know.
A day? I don't know. Have you been skiing?
Yeah. Have you?
No.
No. I think the audience can tell that about us.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think I give the impression I would have been skiing.
I think if the choice was one of these people hasn't been skiing, I think they choose you.
Well, maybe should we do a poll?
Yeah, drop a comment if before this conversation you thought that I'd been skiing and Ava hadn't.
So this has been a really weird day, right? Because so this policy kind of got dripped out overnight, and then it started this morning, and immediately every single person in the country seemed to be angry at him. So the first person to be angry with him was Ford Motors, who were like,
Oh yeah.
what the hell, Rishi? We've just done a whole load of investments in the country because you told us that you were cutting out petrol cars from 2030. So we've put all the electric vehicle factories here, and we've invested a hell of a lot of money. I think it's 400 million just on EVs or something. And he's convinced them off of that premise to put their business here. They were angry. Caroline Lucas was angry because she was backing Ford. Hey, she was like, these guys have spent a lot of money here.
The Green Lobby.
Yeah.
Ford. Unlikely. Do you know the Lord of the Rings meme?
No.
Lord of the Rings heads, who's, I don't know, most people, because they're amazingly successful movies.
Everyone who listens to this is a massive virgin.
I actually disagree with you. I think Lord of the Rings is a really popular franchise that appeals to everybody. Won Oscars.
Yeah?
But there's a bit where I'm going to have to explain Lord of the Rings to you, where Gimli, I think it's Gimli and Legolas are about to go into battle.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So Gimli's a dwarf and Legolas is an elf, and they're usually enemies.
An earl?
Elf.
Elf.
And he's like, I never thought I'd die side by side with an elf. And Legolas goes, how about a friend? Because a friend. So that's Caroline Lucas and Ford. Oh, that was good.
So anyway, after